Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Before we get into the content, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. Obviously, we're talking Thomas Tuchel press conference, the preview to the Norwich game, which is taking place tomorrow. And yeah, man, let's start off straight away. It wouldn't be a video without me talking about an injury to a Chelsea player. So of course, we've got one to talk about. Reece James confirmed not to be fit for tomorrow's game. Thomas Tuchel didn't really go into too much in the press conference. I think he's still awaiting test himself. Obviously, Reece James came back into the game against Burnley, put in a man of the match performance, goal and assist. You couldn't ask for much of a better return for Reece James, but unfortunate for him to not be in contention for the game tomorrow. But of course, we're hoping that it's not a massive injury. We've seen what Reece James without Reece James is like as Chelsea fans, and to see him play the way that he did against Burnley on Saturday, it proves so much that we do need Reece James in the squad. We've got some big key games coming up, Champions League, look at the FA Cup now as well against Middlesbrough. There's still a lot to play for, and Reece James proved that we've been missing that clear cut player that can get the ball into the box, can make something happen for the strikers. So we've been told it's a muscular injury, whether that means he's out for just the Norwich game or maybe the Newcastle game as well. But it's something that we hope that it isn't a massive injury, because Azpilicueta, we've seen him tire throughout games. Callum Hudson-Odoi played in that role. He can do that, but you've got a natural right back, right wing back, one of the best in the world at the moment. We do need Reece in that team, so fingers crossed that it isn't a massive injury to Reece James. But I'm sure he would have been involved in tomorrow's game if he was fit. But of course, there were some good things that came out of the press conference as well. Yesterday, I tweeted a picture of Ben Chilwell, who apparently Thomas Tuchel just confirmed was still in individual training. He's not back in team training. He's a long way off team training at the moment, so there's still a lot of rehabilitation for Ben Chilwell to go through. But of course, any sight and picture of Ben Chilwell kicking a football on the grass, of course, it's a breath of fresh air as a Chelsea fan. So I'm sure we won't necessarily see Chilwell back this season. I'm sure he might get the odd game come the back end of the season. But if he doesn't, we can continue that rehabilitation throughout the summer and then kick in with the next season. But there is a question to be asked, a massive question. And this goes for Reece James as well, because they're two players who've had two massive injuries. They play a massive role in the team as well. A lot of running in the positions that they play in. But these two players that we're never really going to see hit that form, that full fitness, and be able to play throughout a season, and not pick up those injuries. Because Reece James has picked up a couple of injuries along the way over the last 18 months. And Ben Chilwell, obviously, he was out previous to this long-term injury, but he's been out before then as well. So is this something we're going to see with these kind of injuries, the sort of ACLs and the hamstring injuries? We've seen what it did to Callum Hudson-Odoi. We've seen what it did to Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. It's a massive injury to come back from, and not every player can come back and be the player that he was before they got the injury. So it's going to be a testing time. Hopefully we can get Reece James fully fit in the summer. Like I said, hopefully it's not a long-term injury that he's picked up. And Ben Chilwell, he was mixed emotions when he joined the club. I was one of them that wasn't really impressed with the price tag when we got him in, but he's proven that he can play in that role. He's got a part to play in the team. So, I do want to see him back to the full fitness, and I hope we can keep him fit for the best part of next season, because I think he's going to be crucial for us. But just in terms of those two injuries, obviously seeing Ben Chilwell back on the training pitch kind of sent the Chelsea fan base into meltdown yesterday. But any picture of Chilwell back in training, I'm sure is a good sight for Chelsea fans. Now, there wasn't really much that Thomas Tuchel gave us for the game tomorrow to go on. There were a few questions from the press conference asked of him around Kai Havertz and Lukaku. How's Lukaku feeling about not playing as much as he has recently? And obviously Kai Havertz is doing an amazing job playing in that sort of number 9 striker's role, which suits him very well. You know, if you listen back to some of the videos and the podcast that myself and Theo did recently, you know, we've both said that Kai Havertz can play in that role as a striker. He can play with 2 strikers, you know, up top. He can play in a 4-4-2. He can play as that sort of lone sort of striker amongst the 3 up front as well. So, you know, he's someone that can definitely fit into the team. He's in form. He deserves to carry on playing. I think it's very likely we'll see Havertz tomorrow. You know, Lukaku, yes, you know, he's still a good striker. He can still find the back of the net when it suits him. But I think, you know, this time out, the team is probably doing him the best of good, getting him away from the limelight, getting him away from the fans' criticism, allowing him just to sort of find his feet back at the team, you know, during training. And just allowing him to focus on potentially getting that confidence back, which he seems to have kind of dipped in and out of this season. But, you know, it's going to be a tough game. Let's go straight into the predicted lineup for what we're hoping to see tomorrow. Now, I've gone for a very, you know, the usual 5 at the back, 3 centre-backs, the 2 in midfield and the 3 up front. As always, you know, I think we'll see Mendy in goal. I think it's a no-brainer. You know, keep your first choice goalkeeper in the first choice starting 11. So then, of course, you move on to right wing back. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, there's no Reece James, so you'd expect the most likely replacement if he's fit. And we expect that he is Azpilicueta to come in and fill that void that Reece James was doing last week against Burnley. If it's not him, then I think that the 2 tweaks that I think we'll probably make, if it was me in this lineup, would be to pull Callum Hudson-Odoi to right wing back and maybe bring in Timo Werner on that left side or Christian Pulisic. But I think if Azpilicueta is fit, I think he's someone that we will see in the team. You know, we want to give. You know, Azpilicueta is an experienced team. This is Norwich, so yes, it might be a bit difficult because they are fighting for points at the bottom. You know, Dean Smith's going to want to try and get a result, you know, at Carrow Road. But I think if Azpilicueta's in that team, the experience of him, you know, he obviously didn't play, he didn't start the game against Burnley, so I would expect to see Azpilicueta there. Now, my back 3, I've gone for the usual suspects in Rudiger, Thiago Silva and Trevor Chalobah. And I've gone for Chalobah because, again, if you guys listened to the press conference earlier today, you know, another question that was poked to Thomas Tuchel was around Andreas Christensen. There's been a lot of news recently around Christensen and the fact that it looks almost very, very certain now that he has signed a deal with Barcelona. Verbal agreement earlier this week, but now it looks like it's been confirmed. He signed on a dotted line. There's obviously maybe a bit of paperwork that needs to be done behind the scenes, but you know, Thomas Tuchel was very right in saying that he's still a Chelsea player till the end of the season, whatever the case is. He hasn't obviously signed a deal with Chelsea, so you know, I think Thomas Tuchel's under the impression that he will still obviously be in the plans for the rest of the season. But I do think Thomas Tuchel will start to play Chalobah a lot more now. You might see Silva having to step up and play a few more extra games. I don't think, yes, he'll be part of the squad, Christensen, but I don't think he'll feature as much. I might be wrong, of course, but you know, I don't think we'll see Christensen as much as we have done. And if we're going to be honest as well, one thing I do want to say is because I think, you know, a lot of the fan base did give Antonio Rudiger not a hard time, but they definitely got on his back. I, for one, you know, when I heard, you know, 400,000 being batted around as his weekly wages, but you know, the fact that he only wants 250 max, I think, or 260, 250 max a week in wages, you know, hasn't let his performances drop. If anything, they've stayed consistent. You know, he's you know, he's been one of our, arguably next to Thiago Silva, our best centre back in the team. So, you know, he hasn't let these contractual talks and issues off the pitch affect his game. Whereas Christensen, on the other hand, you know, he was out injured with a headache not long ago, and you know, he kind of makes excuses for not being able to play. You know, not really professional. You know, when you talk about Christensen hasn't really been professional when you talk about professional, the professional side of the game, you know, when we talk about these players. But, you know, for me, you know, he was always going to be one that I think would go anyway. I think the thought of going to Barcelona, you know, probably more money as well, playing in a different league, a different climate as well. It was always going to be someone to go out that back three, and obviously nailing down Silva's. Thiago Silva's contract is definitely more pivotal now that we look like we're going to be losing Christensen. But going back to the lineup, Trevor Chalobah, for me, he looked really good in the cup final, and obviously he had to have those stitches put in. But I think give him a run out now. He needs to start getting a bit more consistency with Silva and Rudiger at the back. We don't know what's going to happen in the summer. Trevor Chalobah could be one of the first team, the first names on the team sheet in terms of defensively. So, you need to start getting that consistency with the back three. And then obviously if we do bring someone in the summer, then of course, he's got, the option then to start swapping and changing again. But I think for now, Trevor Chalobah, Thiago Silva goes without saying. It's a shame because you don't want to be playing Silva in every game. We've got to remember we've got a game at the weekend against Newcastle, which is going to be a difficult game. But you look at that back three, Rudiger, Silva and Chalobah. There's a lot of experience with Azpilicueta included into that as well. So that'll be my back three. Left back, I've gone for Alonso. Now, obviously, Kennedy done very well against Luton in the FA Cup, and Sao Niguez against Burnley as well, done okay. But Alonso, for me, natural left-sided, left wing back, left back player. He's the one that should be in that team for me. If that's his position, that's where he's supposed to play. Then for me, that's the player that I want to see playing in the team. Yes, this is Norwich. They might cause us a few issues. Pukki is a threat for Norwich, so I think having an experienced back five or back three, for me is crucial in these kind of games. Norwich are gonna treat this every game, I suppose, is a cup final. They're going to want to try and disrupt other teams' plans as well. So, for me, we have to guard against complacency. So I'd have Alonso there as well. I think Norwich will play the three up front as well. So, it makes sense to have, a back five in my opinion. But going in midfield, controversially, I've left out Kante because I've watched Kante the last couple of games, and I don't know whether he needs a rest or whether he's just, there's something. I think he's been a bit laxy in terms of his performances, and yes, I think he won man of the match in one of the games recently, but I just think, mix it up a little bit in midfield. Obviously, Jorginho can play that role very well, just as much as Kante, and Kovacic doesn't stop running. He puts in a shift every time, and I think this is going to be a game where, like I said, Norwich are going to be up for this game. You want those battles in midfield to be won, and I think, if you've got Jorginho, you've got Kovacic who's doing a lot of that leg work as well in midfield, looking for that crucial pass. I think, for me, Kovacic would be the player that I'll play in midfield. Now, obviously, Havertz has to start in the middle for me. I think of that front three goes without saying. He's in form. 2 beautiful goals at the weekend, and he just looks naturally good in that position. I don't think I wouldn't change that at the moment. Yes, he's going to need a rest, but I do think, if we can maybe get a 2-0 lead in the first half or early in the second half, give it, maybe go 3-0 up, then maybe I bring on a Lukaku, maybe I bring on a Timo Werner. But the two alongside Havertz, I've gone for Callum Hudson-Odoi. I do think Pulisic is one of these players that, you do have to kind of wrap in cotton wool. He's picked up some key injuries, whilst he's been a Chelsea player. So I think just mixing that front three up, I talk about consistency a lot. I think Hakim Ziyech, we spoke about it on here before, the form that he's in at the moment, I'd definitely keep him in there. He played brilliantly in the cup final as well, against Liverpool. So I'd definitely put Hakim Ziyech in that team and leave that consistency between a link-up play between Havertz and Hakim Ziyech as well. But one thing that Thomas Tuchel did say in his press conference was around the link-up play between Mount and Havertz. So you might see Mason Mount come into the team for Hakim Ziyech. For me personally, I think Mount's been a bit below par. I think he hasn't put in the performances that we expect of him recently anyway. But, again, that could just be down to fatigue and tiredness and the number of games that are being played currently at the moment. So, I think we do need to mix it up a little bit and tinker with the squad slightly, but not too much that it sort of disheartens the whole harmony of the squad. I think, we need to Keep the core part of the team the same and just maybe tweak slightly bits around it in terms of how Hudson-Odoi coming in, you know, the likes of Jorginho dropping in for Kante and plays, things like that. I think we need to do that every now and again. But, you know, no disrespect to Norwich, but, you know, we should be beating them quite easily as well. You know, I think we haven't lost at Carrow Road since 1994. Ironically, I think it was a 3-0 win for Norwich. So we've got a brilliant record against Norwich away. So we expect a good performance from them. I'm still going to go. I think I can't remember I said in my previous video with Theo, but I think I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea. No, I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea. And I think it's going to be 2 Havertz goals and a Jorginho penalty. I think that's what it's going to be. But thanks, guys, as always, for tuning in. Don't forget to smash the like button, the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. And of course, hopefully we get 3 points tomorrow. And we will be back again with a podcast episode at the end of this week. But until then, stay safe and we will be back very, very soon. Thanks for watching.